Fairy tales often hide their darker themes behind a charming exterior. But little Goody Two-Shoes doesn't hide that for long. Elise wants nothing more than to be filthy rich, but that dream feels impossibly out of reach. Until something in the shadows starts answering her prayers. In this episode, we'll explore real-life roots behind the game's occult themes, history, and the folklore that inspired it. So turn off the lights, get comfortable, and get ready to hear some spooky tales. The real Walpurga was an 8th century English missionary and nun, born in 1710 AD in Devonshire. She later traveled to the Frankish Empire, which is what we now call Germany, to assist her brothers in spreading the Christian faith. Eventually, she became the abbess of a double monastery in Heidenheim. She was very well known for her healing abilities, her intellect, and her leadership. She died around 777 or 779 AD. Her legend only became more tied to the occult. A clear fluid began to seep from the stone in her tomb, and it became known as Walpurga's oil. And it was believed to have miraculous healing powers, since that's what she was known for. Though modern science has confirmed it's only water, but it did add to part of her mythos. She was canonized in 870 AD, and her feast day was set for May 1st. Though that date was holy to the church, it was anything but pure in the eyes of folklore. The night before St. Walpurga's feast day, April 30th, became known in German folklore as Walpurgisnacht. And according to the legend, it was a night where witches gathered on Brocken Mountain to perform dark rituals and summon demons. Many believe the church chose May 1st for canonization to overwrite the older pagan rituals, to sanctify what was once considered heresy. But instead of erasing those rituals, it only bound her name to them more. Over time, St. Walpurga became more than a saint. She became a symbol, one caught between holiness and heresy. In the game, St. Walpurga is worshipped as a symbol of faith by the villagers. But in truth, the name no longer belongs to the church. It belongs to the cult that lingers in the woods. Father Hans learns this early on. He discovers that the town's beloved saint is tied to something far, far more dangerous. But instead of casting out the name, he lets the worship continue. He even preserves the rites to Walpurgisnacht, using tradition to cover his growing fascination with the cult. His doubts deepen when Holly, a quiet villager, returns from the forest carrying a child, Elise. On her deathbed, Holly confesses, and though Hans is certain Walpurga cannot create life, the child's presence begins to haunt him. He eventually summons Walpurga, not as a saint, but as a force. He makes a pact, and from that moment on, strange events plague Kreftenberg. Hans is convinced that Elise is a cause, a vessel, a mistake, a test, and so he resolves to remove her, to cleanse the village by casting her out. In his twisted sense of righteousness, St. Walpurga becomes a weapon of judgment, not a holy protector, but a haunting reminder of how belief can become apostasy. Each night, Elise is pulled into the witching hour, often referred to as the devil's hour in folklore, when witches, spirits, and demons are said to be their most powerful. The challenges she faces aren't ordinary, but the choices Elise makes mirror real-world occult rituals, where the path to power demands personal sacrifice and emotional separation. Elise is asked to choose whether it's giving a piece of herself for the tender flesh and the sweetest nectar, or offering someone else up entirely. The road to riches isn't paved with gold, it's paved with blood, and at the end of the road awaits the final test, the ultimate sacrifice, for the one that she holds most dear. The forces she meets don't give, they bargain. They offer up what she craves most, wealth and freedom from the village's judgment, but they're always at a hidden cost. Traditionally, demons aren't just a symbol of evil. They're tools of revelation, meant to confront a seeker with what they're too afraid to admit. That's exactly what happens here. Each ritual strips away Elise's illusions, revealing the resentment she harbors for the village and her longing to be admired without shame, and the cruelty that surrounds her in plain sight. In real-world cults and cult circles often follow the same pattern, isolating an individual and putting them through emotional strain at the promise of what the person most desires. The real horror isn't the demons. It's a world that makes Elise feel like she's a monster for simply wanting more. The trials she endures, much like the real-world occult rituals, aren't about gaining power. They're about proving your worth to someone else's twisted standards. Because the danger in game isn't just the woods. It's how the powerless cling to control to feel strong. And, in a way, this game isn't just dark, it's emotionally honest. In games, and in life, not all trials are fair, and not all demons wear horns. Thanks so much for watching the first episode. If you have a game that you think fits the series, or just want to leave your thoughts on Little Goody Two Shoes, please post them in the comments. This format will change over time, hopefully to include more of my VTuber, but don't forget to subscribe, and as always, thank you for being here.